Hi guys, this is Vijay again. In previous video we discussed about what is ITIL and where it is originated from. This is an extended video of that, so we'll continue with next topics. So I would like to provide a disclaimer. I will touch base only very basics of life cycle. Will not deep dive into any life cycle. So I will touch very basics of life cycle. So without further ado, let's continue. So this is our agenda. ITL has five life cycles. The first one is strategy, service strategy. Second one is service design. Third one is service transition, and fourth one is service operation, and fifth one is continual service improvement. So before the life cycle, we need to discuss about what is service management, and a few keywords which we need to discuss about what is service, what is process, what is function, who who all are owners for this processes, function, and services. So let's get into next slide. Okay, now this is a very important keyword. What is service? So as mentioned in this slide, it means a means of delivering value to customers by facilitating outcomes customer want to achieve without the ownership of specific cost or risk. So I'll provide you an example. And the second box I mentioned as example as payroll. Let's take an example of any organization in USA or in India who have outsourced the payroll to different organization. So imagine out of 10 companies in US, around 7 to 8 companies always have payroll department outsourced to ADP or different organizations because they don't want to get into it. Let's take an example. If a country operating in 90 countries, rather they would like to concentrate on what they are specialized into rather than concentrating on tax calculation of employees in all the 90 countries. That is the reason why we tend to see most of the organization do outsource the payroll to different organization. So the reason why I'm providing this example is this will directly match what I have in the slide. So here the payroll team, the cost and risk are transferred to them, and for the organization what it does matters is the final outcome. So the organization will say the payroll team is, it's your headache. How do you calculate tax calculation of our associates working in 90 different countries? At the end of the month, last day of the month, you need to provide salaries to our associates. How do you do? What do you do? It's up to you. But what it does means for is value, which means outcome, which means the service. So I guess I made sense to you. So let's get to next slide. What is service management? So here there are two important sections. If you want to understand what is service management, first you need to understand what is service asset. So I would say, if you can see, there are two sections in the slide: resource and capabilities. And this, if you can see, people is categorized in both sections. People is in resources, people is in capabilities. So for example, let's take an example: people, application, and knowledge. For example, people in the sense it's we, all the associates who work in the organization. Let's take an example of application of AS400 and mainframe, and I am working on mainframe application. And how do I work on that application? If I have a knowledge on how to work on that application, which means that the combination of people, application, knowledge, what I'm turning into, I'm turning this into a service asset. So by combining capabilities and resources, it will generate a service asset. So the combination of capabilities and resources is nothing but service asset. And what does the service asset will do? Of course, when I work on mainframe application using my knowledge, which means that I'm providing service to customer, that's it. Service asset will be converted into service. And what does the service mean to customer? Of course, it's an asset for them, right? I'm providing service to customer and it's an asset for them. And when they take the service from us, what does it provide to them? It provide a business outcome for them, and that is what its value for us. So this is how service management is picturized in this slide. I hope I made sense to you. Let's move on to the next slide. So again, this slide talk about what is service asset, what are resources, and what are capabilities, which we already discussed in the previous slide. But if you want to discuss about what are resources, I already told you resources are nothing but the IT infrastructure, people, money, and others which might help to deliver an IT service. Capabilities, ability to coordinate, control, deploy resources, the intangible assets of an organization. But don't worry about the definition, you can just worry about what I discussed a few minutes before. So, this is one of the important keyword. What is process? I would say process, it's a measurable, it's a defined input and defined output. For example, if I start a new process in my organization, I'll provide a flow chart. It starts from the top, it ends at the beginning. So which means that it has a measurable output. Its output is not vulnerable, and you can expect what is output. For example, I mentioned in the example as adding in DL. DL is nothing but distribution list. So imagine you join newly in an organization and you raise a request to service desk stating that I want to be part of this particular distribution list. So here the process will start. Now what the service desk agent will do, he will send an email to DL owner stating as so and so associate is requested to add him as a member in DL. So the DL owner either approve the request or reject the request. If the request is approved, you will be added into DL. If the approval is rejected, you will not be added, which means that the output would be either you will be added or not added. So it is measurable, and this process, it has a defined input and it has a defined output. So again, technically, what is process? A set of activities designed to accomplish a specific objective. Process takes defined input and turns them into defined output. So let's talk about the other concept that is called function. So I would say the definition of function is nothing but two or more processes running by people or operated by people or tool is nothing but function. We discussed a few minutes before what is process, right? It takes defined input, it provides defined output. Now what is function? I would say two or more processes operated by people or tools, that is nothing but a function. So this image might be confusing, but you just remember my words. Two or more processes operated by tools or people, these are called function, which means that you can see under operations you can see a lot of processes, under development you can see a lot of processes, under project management you can see project 1, project 2, project 3, and under architecture you can see there is a sub process. Okay, now this is one more keyword. We still haven't entered into life cycle. These are the major keywords which are discussing before even entering into life cycle. So this slides talk about service owner. Now who is a service owner? For example, you have a service provider who is providing internet service to you, or you are a service provider who is providing DTH service to you. Then who is the service owner of it? Okay, so service provider is a service owner? That's not a correct answer. The person who is accountable to provide service to you. For example, I have an internet service provider from X company who always have, I always face some interruption during festivals due to some fiber cut. The internet service will be halted for 2 or 3 days. So what I do, I request for extension of it. Every month at the end of the billing, I request for the extension. If there's any degradation of service, disruption of service, I request them to extend this service because I paid you for 30 days. You have provided service only for 28 days. I want you to extend for the 2 days. So for this, they need to gather approval from service owner, which means that maybe my service provider owner is South region head, or maybe the zonal head. So service owner is a person who is accountable to provide the specific IT service and who should take the cost and risk as ownership. Not everyone can approve what service owner can approve because he is accountable for cost and risk. So this is all about service owner. So I'm moving into the next slide, that is called process owner. So you all know what is process. Like if I design a new process like a flow chart, from point A to point B, how does the process go? So I am the owner of the process, so I have to make sure that process is being performed as documented. I have to make sure that the process which I created is meeting its aims, and I have to keep updating the process. It's my responsibility. So whoever create the process, he or she would be process owner. So the next slide we will decide about strategy, design, transition, operation, and continuous service improvement. So for now, that will be it. I will see you in the next video.